Sure. So the general question is, what is your expectation of timing on making a selection after submission? But also, more generally, can you talk through how you think the process will evolve, or how you'll move forward with making a selection after submissions are made? Will there be an opportunity for resubmission if the authority asks for clarification or a different, change in proposal? Just your general expectation on that front.
Well, I'll take a first crack at that question. I know that our RFP does set forth specific milestone dates, and after we receive the proposals, there'll be an evaluation of them. Within the RFP itself, we do reserve the right to participate in a best and final offer process. So that's built in. Whether it actually comes about remains to be determined. But after the selection, the tentative selection of the contractor, that has to be approved by the Thruway Board, the New York State Thruway Authority Board, and also would need to be submitted to the New York State Attorney General's office and the Controller for review, and both of those processes take some time.
Good afternoon. Page 1 of your RFP indicates annual revenues of $118 million. Is that inclusive or exclusive of revenues generated from fuel services?
Yes, that is exclusive of fuel.
To the extent that it's part of the optimization of the service plazas in accordance with the proposal, if there are changes that are required, either moving some of the fuel locations or adding or moving underground storage tanks or contamination issues, how will that be dealt with between you, the contractor, and the fuel supplier?
Just to clarify what your question is, are you asking about the impact of the fuel service facilities on the food service facilities?
Well, to the extent that you're optimizing some of the food service facilities and you may want expanded capacity there because of demographics or location, and you would ideally want to either change the configuration of where the fuel is or add more stations or change the angle in which you approach them, and or move tanks, expand tanks, which might result in contamination or remediation issues. How will that be dealt with? Or do you have to wait until 2027 to be able to optimize something that you're putting in place, 5, 6 years before?
Right now, the key terms of the lease agreement provide for what the environmental responsibility of the new operator will be. But the actual question that you're asking for now is not really addressed by the key terms and will warrant further consideration by us and a formal written answer.
Thank you.
Is the fuel service contract with one vendor for the entire system?
Right now, NISTA, the Thruway Authority, has 2 separate fuel contracts.
And is there a division, a point of division based on the map? Is it one vendor for north to south and another east-west?
No, it is not. It's not based on geography. It's kind of scattered throughout the system.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could you please explain the process of the selection of architects or landscape architects for the various service areas? Is that independent of the main contract, or is it part of the main contract?
Yes, I heard. He wanted to know if a selection of the contractor, the architect and designer was part of the main contract, or if that was independent of the main contract. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. That is not independent. That is included in the main contract.
Thank you.
How are the site visits going to be maintained Wednesday through Friday? So I know it's between 8:30 and 1 for Ardsley through New Baltimore. Is somebody going to be there whenever somebody comes and pops up? Or is it 8:30 Ardsley, 9:30 this one, 10:30 moving on, and so on and so forth?
Correct. Yes, per section 1.4.1 in the RFP, the schedule is highlighted. 3 will have a facilitator, actually 2 facilitators that will be at the service area. They will be identified with, 3 name tags, orange safety vests, and hard hats. And they will be escorting the group around into the service areas and the surrounding roads.
So you go to one and then the whole group moves on to the next one? Is that how it works?
No, they're simultaneous. If you look at the schedule, there's 4 happening at the same time, so there'll be two per location happening at the same time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you share the name of the 2 vendors that are currently under contract on the fuel and the
Yeah.
contact information?
I can tell you their name right now, that contact information, we would have to get back in writing, but it is Sunoco and Dunn Manning Incorporated.
What was the second one? I'm sorry.
Dunn Manning.
Dunn Manning.
They sell the mobile brand.
Hi, good afternoon. Could you please just explain when, by what date the fuel vendors have to extend their contracts, and therefore when there'll be clarity about the potential for fuel contracts for other providers?
Again, they're currently in their first 5-year renewal option. They have a second 5-year renewal option, which if it's exercised, will then take them to the end of their term, which will be March 31st, 2027.
So 2022 is the date by which they have to exercise the next option, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
One of those services we provide is commissioning services for like mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. Is that going to be part of this RFP, or just wanted to get some details about that? The word commissioning is in the RFP once, but that's about it.
Could we ask you to repeat the question, please? We're having a just so we all understand it better.
Yeah, one of the services our company provides is commissioning as a building's being built. You know, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems would be inspected. You know, that's the overview of commissioning. Is that going to be a part of this project?
Yes, it will be.
Yes.
Okay. And then would we need to like team up with another, like there might be, you know, would we have to team up with another firm, or would that be, the commissioning be contracted directly with the Thruway Authority?
That would be part of the main contract.
Okay, so we'd have to team up with
Correct.
someone, most likely.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there any restrictions in the current fuel service agreement or requirements under it related to electric recharge stations? And who's responsible to provide them currently?
The current fuel contracts don't address electrical vehicles with specificity. What they do build in is the opportunity for the authority to offer alternative fueling, alternative types of fuel technology at the sites. And so when the authority wants to authorize some type of alternate technology, it has given the fuel service operators the option whether or not it wants to implement it. So we don't address electrical vehicles directly, but we have broad authorization to give those fuel service operators the first right to do it at the fuel service locations.
Right, to clarify on that, that's within their leased space at each service area.
Georgia, this lady right here, ma'am, did you have a question still?
I had another clarification for the site visits tomorrow.
Okay, could you take the microphone, please? Thank you.
Just to clarify, so from 8:30 to 11:30, there are 4 sites. So between that time, we can go to any of the 4 sites. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Just to understand again about the electric charging. So if you want to implement electric charging stations, you have to, according to the fuel contracts, give the fuel contractors first option to provide it before you go outside? Or is it entirely at your option whether you want to provide it and might want to ask them or might want to ask one of us?
We have to go to the current fuel operator, but it is within their leased space, not at the entire service area. So the space within the fuel leased area, if we want to implement electric vehicle charging station within that leased space, we would have to go to them first.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So then outside of that leased area, electric charging stations could be installed on the food and beverage site. And there are no restrictions at this point, there are no other service providers that are